What's up, readers? Hero Killer is a great manhwa with great art, character, and story, plus world building. It has a unique plot about a girl's sister who got killed by heroes, and now she's on a major revenge arc to kill all the bad heroes, like the ones that killed her sister, and sort of fix the hero system. So an anti-hero type story that's going on. And with all these great things going for it, a unique plot, a great art, character, even story, I expected to really enjoy it and just easily put it in S tier, the highest ranking I give manhwas I read. But after reading it not once but twice, it has this major flaw that prevents me from rating it any higher than S tier. I do recommend it. It's a great manhwa, but I don't highly recommend it due to this major flaw it has, which is the narration. And I thought this narration issue in the beginning was just me, and I forgot too much about the manhwa, and I forgot that this happened and that happened. No, it's just the second time I read it, I was still feeling that tiny bit of confusion, and it was just that flaw again. The narration is the narration is pretty poorly done, which makes me feel confused at times, because some events you have to assume they already happened because they're never shown to us. They're never shown that event happened, so we have to go under the assumption based on what happened. And if you have like a strong intuition based on how they talked, I guess this wouldn't really be an issue for me. But I'm a really visual guy, so I like to see it happen before I conclude, yes, it happened, this event happened. But but they never visually show that, oh, this happened. They just phase right through it, and it makes everything feel so choppy and weirdly paced in the story. I'm gonna give a couple examples and also react to other people's review of this, but there are multiple times this thing happened that made the story feel just a little clashy and mispaced in ways. And I'm just gonna list the examples here. Jintae's deal with High Noon. Jintae is the guy with the healing ability, and he made a deal with High Noon to heal the warrior in order to capture Hero Killer. He made a deal with High Noon in order to capture Hero Killer, and the deal was to trap Hero Killer, and then he would heal High Noon's friend, which got hurt during like a mission. The trap commenced, and High Noon lured Hero Killer in. The fraud, Hero Killer almost died, and I never see Jintae going over to heal High Noon's friend with the healing ability. They showed us how the healing ability works. He holds his hand and green sparkles go and heals the person, but it's never visually shown he did that. You have to assume that already happened without it being shown. And this is like a minor one, but there are just a lot of times this thing happens. Like, it feels like the story just doesn't breathe. Like, there's talks about something happening, but they never show it happening, which makes the pacing feels a bit weird. The next one is Hero Killer healing Old Master and Chaos. Hero Killer eventually fights Jintae in one final bout and beats him and gains his ability. So after Hero Killer does this, he gains Jintae's healing ability and now wants to form his own team by healing her old allies, the Old Master and Chaos. There were talks about the healing it and Chaos being scared about the treatment, but they never show Hero Killer going to them visually and doing this sparkle thing and making them heal the Old Master and Chaos. It just swoops by and they're already healed. We don't get the visual confirmation that actually happened. We just have to assume it happened, since Chaos can fight at his full strength after being weakened for a while, and Old Master can now walk and stuff. Then the next one is Nenya survived. Now the last two examples of this happening feels a little minor, but this one's like a major one to me. Nenya survived. She survived that major thing where Jintae killed him to gain the massive est in her, and they did not show any flashback of how she survived. They did not show any flashback of how she learned sword fighting with the green sword she's holding, or learning the usage of the ability. There's just no visual confirmation on how all that event surpassed. We just have to assume that magically it happened, which I'm just not okay with. Nenya is like she has a major importance to Hero Killer based on how Hero Killer feels about her. But revealing these things won't like mess up the story in any way, because she's still sort of a side character. The main premise of the story is getting revenge on people that killed Hero Killer's sister. So we can still be out of the loop about who is behind the killing and all that, and that getting slowly revealed. But some things should be visually shown to us, visually confirmed, so we don't have to keep assuming that it happened. And Nenya surviving, and I think she's in this recent arcs fighting with Ryoko and stuff. So not knowing how she grew up in those times that she was without Hero Killer, it's really annoying that wasn't revealed, and we just have to just go with it. She just survived. That's the end. We just assume she just survived through the power of friendship. It just never revealed. So yeah, this is my major issue. Just the narration of the story visually is my biggest issue with Hero Killer, which causes a weird confusion in me with how the thing is paced and everything. A lot of manhwa don't have this issue, which I find weird in Hero Killer. But yeah, just visually showing it happening, using more flashbacks, using more character interaction and dialogue can be a big way to fix this. Like, if it can't be visually done, you can visually say, okay, I have healed. Maybe in the panel, there could be like a mini transition and say, okay, I've healed Chaos and Old Master. Like, more character interaction. There's very limited character interaction and dialogue in this series as well. So that's another reason why this series feels so choppy as well. Overall, Hero Killer is still a great manhwa and a great story. This is just a big issue I have with it. Now we're gonna check out some other reviews of Hero Killer. The good. Okay, now this is like a more detailed review on it. I am binging the whole thing. I have some thoughts. The good. A diverse and interesting cast that grows without neglecting characters. If you have a favorite and don't kick the bucket, they might go away for a while, but they'll come back. Powers are well explained. And since it's a comic about fighting, that's good. Note that the powers or her immediate allies will use a lot of more detailed and well explained than bad guys of weak powers. If a villain explains how their powers work casually in the middle of a fight, it's either going to be a protagonist or the villain is coming back. The main character gets progressively better as a comedy option as the story goes on. She starts out stark serious and becomes stark serious, but she has no thoughts beside food and weapons, which is super petty, which is fun to watch. The artist has a preference for everyday scenarios that they throw in a random picture of some character doing some mundane thing at the end of the many chapters. So when your characters is off screen, it's very possible that you see a vignette of them living their best life as the plot moves elsewhere. Beautiful art that conveys a sense of motion. Space very well complemented. Okay, that's a lot of words, but yep, it's very good. The bad, most of the character development takes place in the flashbacks before the story starts. The primary conflict involves getting the author to spill the beans about literally anything in between fight scenes. This is not Chekhov's gun, this is Chekhov's entire arsenal, and the author is so tight-lipped that he won't say the names of many of the major characters, such as the protagonist, the big good, in a story about killing heroes at least, and the mentor character. Yeah, it makes, the author using a lot of cliffhangers to keep people reading to find out, and we're still not finding out. I do understand that, and I'm not really mad about the major characters not being revealed as much though, since that's like I think that's the main plot point about the story, finding out who those people are and stuff. The primary method the author uses to skip ahead in time is knocking the protagonist out for like an entire day. This happens a lot. When did this happen? And there's evidence that some of the heroes are bad, but as the story goes on, they begin to forget to justify why specific heroes are bad and instead justify why they're strong. Yeah, I've noticed this a lot. Yeah, some heroes have a weak justification of why they're bad. The protagonist anti-heroes faction are terrorists that have, as of the early chapters, a staggering body count from the flattering a city block with bombs. Primary hinting method is just showing some character along their nickname and zero influence on the plot. We don't know who the actual bad guy is. The only character to talk about that is in his dying breath and never again. Worth a read. I stopped reading after a few. The idea seemed great, but I couldn't stand the main character being emotionless. I didn't feel like her expression changed. First I thought she had a plan and was confident in her ability. Then came episode 5, she get kidnapped by the Nameless. She was injured. Yeah, it has a very good idea, but in some ways the how the idea is getting carried out, it's lacking a bit, I will say. This idea is a very good, very unique idea. Hero Killer is doing so accurate I was invested. Then it became apparent that getting any major information required blood sacrifice. Sure, that's why I do like binging stuff, so I don't get annoyed by like the cliffhangers, because there's a lot in this series. I need to have at least 100 chapters ready to binge before I can read. The best thing about the series is the art. Yep, the art is really good. The author knows how to make drop dead gorgeous women. The fights are pretty darn good, but can be a bit hard to follow. Yes, I noticed this as well. I was waiting for somebody to say that. The fights have been a little hard for me to follow with how they get played out. The story is a bit basic, the world building is decent, but the pacing is a bit, yes, I agree with this. Pacing is rushed. It gets rushed a couple times. At sometimes feels a bit abrupt. Yeah, this can be resolved with more character interaction. Just a little abrupt. The arcs keeps continuing and coming one after another without much of the buffer, which is one of the flaws of the series. The characters' designs are top notch and the personalities are also fun. The characters are pretty fresh for the most part, and their interaction is quite fluid mostly. Power mechanics aren't very clear, yeah, but it's similar to many series where all characters have unique superpowers. The power scaling and progress of the characters in terms of strength can be difficult to grasp completely, but it's manageable. Fan service is a bit much. Yeah, that's a little fair, but it's not as intrusive as some other series, but don't feel super forced as others might. Overall, pretty enjoyable and worth reading. Much better than many mainstream ones. Yeah, I agree. It's all better than all the mainstream. Art, 9 out of 10. Design, story, world building, good rating. Pacing. Honestly, I give pacing this. I'll give pacing a 7. Yes. World building 8. I would probably even give pacing a 6.5. Action 8.5. Yeah, this could be 9 even. Power mechanics 7.5. This is the exact rating I'll give it, 8 out of 10. Although I use a 5-point rating system, so my rating is 4 out of 5. Yeah, pacing is pretty bad.